awesome.
And then on top of that, I'm just impressed of the long drives that they had.
Yep.
I mean, just look at that. You had drives, 8 plays, 75 yards, 410, TD by Pruitt. And then you have 9 plays, 97 yards, 534 time off the clock, TD to Brown. So it just shows you that they're playing with confidence. And then also, we talked about the offensive line. The offensive line, struggled a couple of weeks before. They're plugging people in, and you're still getting the same results. Last week they had 1 sack. The week before that they gave up 1 sack. They're not letting Tannehill get hit like they were before earlier in the season.
And they had a guy coming off the street last week. Bobby Hart playing left tackle.
Was it you?
It was me. I was trying to keep that on the DL.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's just amazing what they've been able to do so far. And then on the other side of the ball, Chris, I mean, one thing that really stood out to me last week for the Titans is the pressure they were able to generate with that front four. And, when that package was in there, when you had Bud Dupree and Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry, if you can consistently generate pressure with your front four the way the Titans did last week, you're going to be in a pretty good spot as a defense.
Yeah, and then they didn't let Mahomes be Mahomes. Mahomes wants to scramble around and extend the play and make plays. But when you're getting hit in the mustache, when you get hit in the face, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And if you look, when I go back and watch the tape, I kind of watch the innuendos of things. Watch the body language of Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
Mahomes' body language is like, I don't want to play. What the heck is going on? I mean, he even got his offensive line, and he's screaming at him. When's the last time you really see Mahomes scream at his offensive line? Because he's uncomfortable. He's not playing with confidence. He's unsure of the running game. So there's just so many things. But then on the flip side, just like what you said, their front four with Landry, Autry, Simmons, and David Long, who's a dog, they're putting pressure on quarterbacks, and the quarterbacks are feeling so uneasy in the pocket. So if the Tennessee Titans can do that with Wentz, woo! Let's go, baby.
That's right. How much money do you think you could have won last week if you'd have had Derrick Henry with more touchdown passes than Patrick Mahomes?
Probably about $1 million.
It'd been a lot.
I'd have paid your house and my house.
I mean, you absolutely would have. Yeah. But that's the story last week for the Titans. What a performance defensively for the Titans. And now that sets up a monumental matchup this weekend in the AFC South. Heading into this 4-game stretch, and we talked about this on my morning show with Robbie and Rexroad. Heading into the 4-game stretch of Buffalo, Kansas City, Indy, and the Rams coming up next week, I think most Titans fans, given the way the Titans had played at that time, would have probably been happy with 2-2.
Right.
And now here they sit 2-0 in this stretch with an opportunity to move to 3-0 today. And what I think you would agree with this, Chris, the most important game today when you're talking about an AFC South divisional matchup and a chance for the Titans to really grab a stranglehold on this division today.
I give props to Mike Vrabel because, even though Mike Vrabel's grouchy in the meeting, not meetings, but grouchy when he's doing interviews, he still keeps his team focused. Because, when the Tennessee Titans lost to the Jets, everybody was in an uproar. I was in an uproar. The fans were in an uproar. And you could just see that it wasn't a panic mode with the fans and us. He never panicked. He never wavered. He said, we're going to stay. We're going to make sure we're going to put guys in there to make plays. And then also everybody was down on the coordinators. I was down on Todd Downing and I was down on Shade Bowen. But he said, these are my guys. These are the guys that I have to coach, and we're going to consistently try to get back to where we get. And we're seeing the fruit of what we're talking about.
Well, I think the exciting part, too, if you're a Titans fan, is hopefully, you've been able to get to 5-2 at this point. 2 big wins against Buffalo and Kansas City. And hopefully, as you move forward here, you can start to get a little bit healthier. I mean, it's been kind of amazing that they've been able to do what they've done so far with the injuries that have taken place. Going to see Taylor Lewan back out there today as well on the offensive line. So it's been pretty incredible, the way that they've dealt with injuries and that they've gotten to this point where they are 5-2. And hopefully, as the season goes on, although with each passing game that goes by, they don't get healthier. Hopefully at some point they do.
I want to see Julio Jones get in. I don't know the situation, kind of what's going on with Julio Jones, but if he just imagine you got Henry healthy, you got A.J. Brown healthy. Just imagine you having a Julio Jones healthy.
Yeah.
That just makes your offense even more potent, and it makes it more dangerous because now, A.J. Brown had a big game last week. He had 133 yards. Defenses are going to take note and try to take him out the game. But if you don't have Julio on the other side, it doesn't pose a threat as opposed to having Westbrook or Reynolds out there because, they're going to catch those slants and those hitches and those things like that. But we need to see more plays down the field. We need to see more explosive plays like we saw last week with A.J. Brown. Just imagine having him a two-headed monster out there like that. It just makes your offense more dangerous. So Come on, Julio Dangummit. We need you out there. You
right.
get me all mad,
right.
Dangummit.
So, as impressive as the last couple of weeks have been
yeah.
for the Titans, I think you would agree with this. This is a different type of matchup today.
Yes.
Buffalo, as good as they are, they don't spend a whole lot of time running the football.
Mm-mm.
Kansas City really can't run the football based on their injury situation at this point. And now you're taking on an Indianapolis Colts team today that they know that their season and the AFC South essentially, I know it's only week 8, but if you lose this game if you're the Colts, you're in big trouble when it comes to the division. They know that this is a must-win game for them at home, and they know that a guy that they've relied on so far this year heavily, and that's Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
He's going to have to be a big part of the formula if the Colts are going to win this game. Kind of one of those buckle up your chin strap games for the Titans.
You know, if you look at the Indianapolis Colts, you know, I kind of watch the little things. Because I look at when they just beat the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Watch how they came in the locker room. They were excited. This is a confident team now. I know they started 1-4, now they're 3-4, but they don't waver.
Yep.
That's a dangerous team. It would kind of remind you of the Tennessee Titans. Even though the Tennessee Titans, you know, struggled a little bit earlier in the year, there's a team that didn't waver. So when you have two teams that's playing with confidence and they don't waver, it's like Godzilla and King Kong. I mean, they're going to get after it. And just look at the Indianapolis Colts offense. I mean, you got Taylor, you got Pittman. I think what's the other receiver's name that's coming back? I think he's
is it Pascal?
No, T.Y. Hilton's coming back.
Which Titans fans are scared to death of him.
Absolutely. But I know Parrish Campbell is out. I think he's out for the season. But this is a dangerous ball club. And the reason why I say it's a dangerous ball club is because they just don't pass the ball. They got a good running back, which in Taylor. Taylor's second behind Henry in yards. So when you have a two-headed monster like that and you have a quarterback that's playing with confidence that, you know, a couple of weeks ago he could barely walk.
Yep.
These are two teams that are going to try to punish you, and I cannot wait to see this game.
I can't wait to see it either, and as you mentioned, I mean, you're probably going to see a much different Carson Wentz
Absolutely.
in this game as well. I mean, he could not move in the pocket. He was a stationary target the last time the Titans played him.
Right.
When they were here in Week 3, and the running game, I think, an underrated part of his ability too.
Yep.
Carson Wentz can move a little bit out there. I mean, and the Titans have had their experience with some mobile quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, I mean, he can move. And the one thing that he does so well is he extends the play. And when you have a quarterback that extends the play, you have wide receivers that are running down the field and getting open. So I think the defensive secondary of the Tennessee Titans are really going to have to be aware of what he's doing. And I think Shane Bowen, he's got to make sure he blitz at the right time. You can't just go and just start blitzing people and doing all that, because when you got Pittman who's making – I mean, he to me, he's one of the best receivers in the league. I mean, just look at what he did with the
really
49ers.
Good last week.
I mean, very good. I mean, if you look at what Wentz did in that play. He just threw out the ball, let him make a play. And if you look at our corners, I don't think Fulton's playing this week, but our corners are not very big.
Right.
I'm not saying that Gary Coleman's small, but, you know, they're not that big.
That's
they're
right.
feisty and everything. But just watching Wentz, he just looks like a different guy. He's rejuvenated. And I think the one thing, too, is his head coach has faith in him. When you have a head coach that has faith in you, say, you know, I understand what you did at Philly. I understand that, you know, it didn't work out there, but you're a new guy at this place. I believe in you. I trust you. And all those guys on offense rally around him and say, you know what? We're behind you. Yes, you may throw an interception. You may have made some bad mistakes, but guess what? We're going to make sure we do our job to make sure you're successful.
We're off and running today here on the pregame show on 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside forever Titans wide receiver.
That makes me sound old,
Chris
man.
Sanders bringing the noise today, bringing the passion today. Chris Sanders today and every day. And up next, we'll get to the top 4 storylines for the Titans and the Colts heading into this game. Our Moving the Chain segment coming up next. This is the NFL pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Close out October with a shootout win over the Islanders.
You have veteran players that are carrying their weight and doing the right things, and that's good to see, and that's why we've had some success here as of late.
Your exclusive home of Nashville is
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Need a new roof? Get a roof built with integrity from E2 Roofing. E2 is a veteran-owned and operated local roofer with 95 five-star Google reviews and Better Business Bureau A+ rating. E2 Roofing is a veteran-owned and operated local roofer with 90 five-star Google reviews and Better Business Bureau A+ rating. E2 assists customers with roof repair and replacements through insurance claim assistance. Find out if insurance will pay for your new roof with a free inspection at e2roofingnashville.com.
Tune in every Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. on 102.5 The Game for ESPN's college football analyst Trevor Maddich. With Stillman & Company, Trevor delivers expert commentary on college football and is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and NFL Week 8 continues this Sunday, and FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every play. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week. All you got to do is bet a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. The Titans taking on the Colts this week. I like Derrick Henry on the over, and I like the Titans on the money line as well. But you take it any way you want to take it. Offers like this are why I love betting with FanDuel Sportsbook. You get your winnings in as little as 2 hours. It's easy to use, safe, and secure. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, sign up today with promo code ROB to also receive 25-1 enhanced odds on any touchdown during the Sunday night matchup between Dallas and Minnesota. Win $125 on a $5 bet. That promo code is Rob. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is not withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Barlines and the Omni Hotel, one of Nashville's favorite downtown destinations, gets raving reviews from the locals. Live music, great food, and a favorite spot to watch your Nashville Predators on any of the 22 big screen TVs. And great food is an understatement. How about award-winning hot wings, Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, smoked brisket tacos, and in-house homemade pimento cheese sandwiches? Barlines, an official Predators preferred watch party location, 1 block from Bridgestone in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
This afternoon.
It is caught by Godwin for the touchdown.
It's our NFL Game of the Week, brought to you by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers visit the New Orleans Saints.
Touchdown, New Orleans.
Coverage begins at 2:45
on ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
It is the NFL pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Chris Sanders and Mark Howard as well. Time for our Moving the Chain segment brought to you by TriStar Moving. Moving the Chains brought to you by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. The Titans and the Colts today. We get to our top 4 storylines between the Titans and the Colts, beginning with first down.
First down.
So on first down, my question to both of you fine gentlemen, are the Indianapolis Colts for real? They've won 2 games in a row. Their quarterback is now healthier. Obviously, this is a massive matchup in the AFC South today, and one that the Colts know if they want to hang in there in this division, they've got to have this one. Mark Howard, we start with you. Are you a believer in the Indianapolis Colts after the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, not only do I believe that they're good, I think they're underrated.
Yeah,
I think they're dangerous. They've got a quarterback whose play has really picked up the last few weeks, and a really bad goal line turnover notwithstanding, he's played really well. This is a very well put together roster. I would rebuilt offensive line, secondary not great, which is where I think the Titans can make some hay. But by and large, yeah, I think to steal a line from Seinfeld, they're real and they're kind of spectacular at times.
Chris Sanders, are you a believer in the Indianapolis Colts?
Absolutely, and the reason why I believe in them is their head coach. I mean, he even though they start out 1-4, he still has a sense of confidence. When you have your head coach that has confidence, everybody's going to, believe in you. I mean, look at their offense. They have Taylor, they have Pittman, and T.Y. Hilton's coming back. So they're kind of like the Tennessee Titans. They have a great running game, and they can make plays in the passing game. So, it just shows you that this team can beat you. Don't look at their record. I agree with Mark. Don't look at their record because this team can beat you. And then on defense, they're physical. I mean, them jokers can run, and they're physical. They got Buckner, they got Muhammad, and they got Kwity Paye. How you pronounce it?
Yeah, Kwity
Paye.
Paye.
I'm going to name my yes, I like that name.
That's nice.
But he went to your favorite school, Michigan.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, this defense is mad. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when they came here, the Tennessee Titans offensive line were more physical. So you don't think they're going to come in or they're going to go out there and be more physical against the Tennessee Titans offensive line? Because you remember Derrick Henry, that stiff arm that he has?
Oh, yeah.
He stiff-armed about 3 people last time. And I
just ask Darius Leonard.
I know. So they're going to be ready. They're going to come out full speed. And I am a believer in this. In this whole team. Is why? Number one, their head coach. Number two, their quarterback. And number three, they have a balanced offense.
I'm a believer too, and this is a big test for the Titans today to see if they could stop the run. We talked about it last segment. Buffalo, Kansas City, kind of view the running game as a little bit of an afterthought, and that is not the way the Colts are going to approach this game. So a big test for the Titans defense on that regard today. And with that, we move to second down.
Second down.
Gentlemen, here we are again today, and Julio Jones not going to be on the field for the Titans again today. Mike Vrabel confirming on Friday that Julio Jones is out, still dealing with a hamstring injury on the injury report. Chris Andrews, let's start with you. No Julio Jones again. What's your concern level at this point that we might not see the Julio Jones that the Titans hoped that they traded for?
Yeah, but see, this is what we talked about early in the year and also before they even signed him. This is the one thing we were afraid of. We were afraid of, is he going to be available to be on the field? We understand that you're going to be a future Hall of Famer, but if you're not available to help the team now, you have no value. And I'm not saying in a disrespectful way. I'm just calling it as it is. Just imagine, goodness gracious, with Henry running well, with A.J. Brown catching long bombs and making big plays, and just imagine having him on the other side. That's a potent offense. That's an offense that you can't stop because you can't point your finger on stopping one person. But it's just concerning me that why would you rule him out when you're not even giving him a try on Sunday to see if his body even can play in the game? So if you're ruling him out now, there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know, and I'm not speculating or I'm not starting any rumors, but there's something going on behind the scenes because he should be out there playing.
Mark Howard, what's your concern level at this point for Julio Jones, inactive again today for the Titans?
Well, he's borderline IR material, and that is bothersome. And the Titans, knew this was one of the risks when they traded for him, when they rolled the dice, to get a guy who could really help this team. But I've said it before. It's a 17-game schedule. I think they view Julio as a guy who needs to be out there as healthy as possible. That half of Julio is really not worth it to them. And Chris can tell you, when it comes to a hamstring, you wait. And then when it feels good, you wait another week, and then you go out there.
But here's what I don't understand, and I'm not disrespecting any kind of coach or any doctor or anything, is the first two quarters he looks like he's 100%. I mean, there's no gimpiness. There's no signs of his hamstring hurting. But then we get the third and fourth quarter, he's absent.
Well, it was interesting last week, too. There were a couple times he tried to go on the field, and Rob Moore holding him back. He's like, no, don't go out there.
That doesn't make sense. And I'm not speculating this, and I'm just throwing it out there, but I had this happen to me. Like when I got cut from the Tennessee Titans and I went to the Cleveland Browns, all of a sudden I played in one preseason game. Then the next two preseason games I didn't play. The reason why I didn't play is they wanted to keep me healthy because they were going to trade me or cut me. Could that be the case? That they may trade him or maybe let him go? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
I'd be surprised.
They invested way too much in him.
I know.
And the return on him in a trade would be minuscule, so they're just not going to do that.
With that, we move to third down.
Third down.
Taylor Lewan looks to be back in there today for the Tennessee Titans. Coming back in after going through the concussion protocol. Everything appears to be a go for Taylor Lewan. I ask you, and we'll start with you, Mark Howard. The last couple of weeks, based on what the Titans' offensive line has done, no sacks allowed against the Bills. Another good performance for the line, even a shorthanded line last week against Kansas City. Have the concerns that were there previously this season been alleviated in your mind on the offensive line for the Titans?
Not necessarily. And the notion that it's a better offensive line without Taylor Lewan, to me, is silly.
Yeah.
But he's a team leader. But they're playing better. They felt like they had to make some adjustments, and they did a really good job last week against Kansas City. Although I think Indy's going to scheme it up a little bit differently and not just sell out, trying to stop Derrick Henry.
I'm impressed about with this offensive line. I know they struggled earlier. You just throwing people in there, throwing Lamb and different guys in the Brewer. I mean, who Brewer? I don't even know who he is. But here's the thing that I'm impressed about is we talked a little bit earlier is Todd Downing. He's not putting these guys in position to fail. So what he's doing is he's going to 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, and protecting those tackles. So it's not just that these guys are playing overly well. It's Todd Downing putting these guys in a position not to fail. So, they got to keep it consistent. Now, it's a whole different ballgame when you're going against the Indianapolis Colts because they're going to put pressure. You got Buckner, who is just a straight-up grown man that had a mustache when he was 5. I mean, just a grown man. But I just think that they just got to keep communicating. It starts with Jones, with the center, and just keep protecting Tannehill because last week they gave up 1 sack. The week before that they gave up 1 sack. What is that telling you? They're keeping Tannehill clean, and they're keeping those open lanes for Henry to run.
Well, what you're hoping for with Taylor Lewan is he comes back in and picks up where he left off, trying to build back his game, and that you don't have to hang in with tight ends and protect on that side. I mean,
right.
Taylor Lewan is paid to be a left tackle where you put him over there on an island and you say, all right, you take care of your guy. That's what we need to see out of Taylor Lewan today.
But can he do that, you think?
That's going to be the question.
I mean, because if you look at when he went against the Arizona Cardinals,
yep.
he struggled a lot. And I think that you're coming off a concussion protocol, one ding, that can be it. So can he do that? Can he stay healthy? Can he block those edge rushers? So it's going to be very, very important that he does.
Going to be very important that he does, and very important that offensive line for the Titans holds up as well. With that, we move to 4th down.
4th down.
Mark, we were talking earlier, a really impressive performance for the defensive front for the Titans last week. Bud Dupree plays well. Harold Landry's been a monster all season long. Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, good games as well last week. What's your confidence level that with a healthier Bud Dupree, that is the version of the Titans front we're going to see, and how important is that front specifically in this matchup against Indianapolis?
Well, I call them the lads, and that's Landry, Autry, Dupree, and Simmons.
I like that.
But they might be the ads today because Harold Landry, his status right now is sort of up in the air.
Yep.
But they played extremely well. Shane Bowen only had to blitz once. And Chris knows this.
Yeah.
When you can generate a 4-man pass rush,
absolutely,
you can drop 7 and cover better. Even with a depleted secondary, they kept everything in front of them and did not allow those long, vertical routes. I feel like they're going to be better. But the Colts have a better offensive line than the Chiefs do. And on top of that, the Colts have a better running game.
Yep.
With Taylor. Leading their trio. Hines is really good, too, coming out of the backfield. They're a lot better than what the Titans have seen the last 2 weeks in terms of a running game.
Yeah, and this just looks like a faster defense. I mean, you got Autry, you got Dupree, you got Landry, you got Evans. I mean, those guys can run. And then we're talking about a guy that we really didn't talk about at the beginning of the season is David Long Jr. That dude, man, has a flat-out motor.
Yep.
He's flying around. He's physical. He's consistently around the ball. He's consistently, making plays. I mean, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago he had 14 tackles and 10 pressures. I mean, something crazy like that. But it's just a faster defense. I know, at the beginning of the first game that the Tennessee Titans played, they struggled a little bit. But I think that Shane Bowen and those guys are figuring it out and putting guys in position to be successful. So I think that when guys are playing with confidence and guys are feeling comfortable with the scheme, guys are going to play fast and really make plays on the defensive side.
Thought last week was really encouraging for Bud Dupree, and all indications are that the knees responded better this week as well. So, Mark, if they can get Bud Dupree out there and he can be the guy that we saw in Pittsburgh, that's a big deal for this Titans defense.
Well, the other pleasant thing was not only was he out there, and as Chris alluded to, we saw him get a sack. We also saw the bend that he has. That is sort of one of his signatures. Seeing him healthier and healthier as the weeks progress is very good for the Titans.
And it just brings another element to this defense. I mean, they were already fast before he got there, not even a faster defense because, I mean, look at how fast that joker came around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he looked like – I mean, I know he's a grown man, but he looked like a grown-er man. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. But he's just physical, man. And then the thing that I love about this Tennessee Titans defense is they're swarming to the ball. They have 8 and 9 hats to the ball. Nobody's loafing. You got defensive backs running from the opposite side of the field to try to make the play. So just excited to see what this Tennessee Titans defense is doing.
Coming up next, we'll go inside the playbook. Look at the Titans offense in this matchup against Indianapolis. That's coming up next. This is the pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Coming up next hour on NFL Pregame, Jared, Chris, and Mark go inside the playbook, inside the sports book, and get an update from the stadium with ESPN's Teron Davenport. It's NFL Pregame on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you missed the latest from Darren, Donick, and Chase.
They told a story about Tim and Matt Hasselbeck, now Drew Brees. That's what I said. And then a few minutes later, Darren comes in. Anyone watching the Manning telecast, it's good.
Yeah. It's a total shot at you.
That's what I
was like, you wouldn't stop. It's like, dude, we got it. Like, you just kept texting like every minute about the Manning. It's like, we got it. We're watching,
This
man.
is the problem with text.
Well, why wouldn't you respond? Why wouldn't you just say, yeah, I'm watching it. It's good. Like, I'm trying to have a conversation
Darren
with you
is
two.
sarcastic. But that's the problem in this world with texting is you don't get the tone of the text.
No,
it's left for interpretation.
So number one, I knew he was being a smart ass.
So through and through, like really?
Well, I'm bringing it to like, why be a smart aleck there? Like,
well,
why,
you know exactly why, because I just told you and you knew that.
Tune in Darren, Donick, and Chase, weekdays 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Got chronic joint pain? Not having success with steroids, but trying to avoid surgery? Well, thankfully, there's a better way. And now it's available here from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Hey, Willie Donick here. I'm talking about new therapies. Advanced, all-natural, regenerative treatments that can not only just give you relief, but can also restore and repair damaged tissue so you can have lasting relief. If you've got joint pain due to arthritis, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, don't just think the old ways of dealing with pain are the only ways. You need to learn more about these new biologic therapy solutions. Call now for a free consultation. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. These remarkable new treatments increase mobility, decrease pain, and help restore tissue. They actually encourage your body to heal itself. Call now and learn more about these restorative, regenerative, and revolutionary alternatives. Don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024.
Join us in partnering with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Light the Night. Light the Night brings light to the darkness of cancer through hope, research, and support for patients and families. Light the Night will take place virtually on Thursday, November 4th from 7 to 8 p.m. More details at lightthenight.org/TN.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. What are the keys to victory on the offensive side of the ball for the two-tone blue? Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard go inside the playbook. Brought to you by E2 Roofing. This is the NFL Pregame on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time to go inside the playbook, brought to you by E2 Roofing. Trust the roofers with integrity. E2 Roofing, a veteran-owned and operated local Nashville roofer. The Titans, they've had it rolling offensively the last few quarters out there against the Bills and the Chiefs as well. A different challenge against this Indianapolis defense. Chris, what do you like about the way the Titans have been operating offensively the last couple of weeks, and what is your key to the Titans offense finding success today against the Indianapolis Colts?
I mean, they need to do exactly what they did last week. I mean, if you look at the time of possession, what is 36-24, and when you have that time of possession, you keep that potent offense with the Kansas City Chiefs on the sidelines. The same thing with the Tennessee Titans and Indianapolis Colts. If the Tennessee Titans win the time of possession, it keeps Wentz, it keeps those Taylor, they keep those receivers on the sidelines because you're controlling the tempo of the game. So if they can win the time of possession and also don't have turnovers like they did earlier in the season, I think the Tennessee Titans can definitely be successful.
Mark, what do you like about what you've seen out of the Titans offense the last couple of weeks, and what do you think is going to be especially important today against the Colts?
Well, their efficiency inside the red zone, which is something that was lacking, before the win over Buffalo, but also the balance. Obviously Henry's running the football. And the last 2 weeks, Buffalo and Kansas City stacked it up to stop Derrick Henry. And really for 3 quarters, Tannehill was terrible in the first half against the Bills, but really good in the second half. And against the Chiefs, he was good start to finish. You get that kind of balance, not only running the football but throwing the football, you become a really tough offense to stop.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think we've also seen the last couple of weeks what a healthy, non-food poisoned A.J. Brown
no more
looks
Chipotle.
like out there. Yes, it's been pretty incredible to watch what he's been able to do. Looks healthy. Looks like A.J. Brown out there.
He looks comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't wear the knee sleeve or anything. And, I think that one long pass that Tannehill threw to him, you saw a little bit of explosiveness that we saw earlier in his career. I think he's playing with confidence. He's having fun. I mean, he's making big plays. And the one thing I love that he's doing also is he's making the big plays on third down. I mean, when you have when you're completing third downs and you're making a big catch on third down, it keeps those chains moving. So I'm glad to see that he's doing well. I'm glad to see that he's doing healthy, and it just makes this offense even more better.
And I keep waiting for, at some point,
Julio,
maybe the tight ends to be a little bit more involved and Anthony Ferkser to be a bigger part of the passing game. That's what a lot of the talk was about in training camp was Anthony Ferkser and what a factor he was going to be in the passing game. But, Mark, we've not seen a whole bunch of that so far.
We really haven't. Ferkser, I was expecting a big year out of, and so were the Titans. John Robinson didn't really address the tight end position, with the exception of getting, Michael Pruitt off waivers after the 49ers cut him. And really right now, Pruitt is their best tight end, a guy, who didn't make the 49ers roster. Ferkser's been a disappointment. Swaim has been a huge disappointment. I really think I wouldn't be surprised if Robinson went out and got a tight end before the trade deadline on Tuesday. But as for today, they need some production from that position. Colts are really good, with Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox and, that tight end group, which is something the Titans don't really have.
I think it's a little more than that, too. We talked a little bit about it earlier, protecting the tackles.
Yep.
And the reason when I say protect the tackles, you go on a 12 personnel. That's one back, two tight ends. So I think that the reason why we're not seeing him catch that many balls is because they're asking him to block. I know he's not a good blocker, but you need somebody to protect when you're going against a Bills defense like that, and you're going against a defensive front that's pretty good. So I think that the reason why we're not seeing him catch that many passes is because of Todd Downing. Putting them in the formations to be like that. It
still would be nice, though, to have that option over the middle. I mean, we talk about
True.
At some point having Julio Jones and A.J. Brown healthy and available at the same time. You talk about matchups over the middle. If you're a tight end in this offense, and that's where a lot of the conversation with Ferkser came around. He's had some good moments, obviously, with the Titans, but a lot of the talk about him in the preseason was, hey, with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry out there, those matchups should look pretty good for Anthony Ferkser.
But I think it goes down to is he's got to get the opportunity. I mean, I don't think he's getting a lot of looks, and the reason why he's not getting a lot of looks is because they're asking him to stand and block even more. So even though he might not catch a lot of balls, he's still doing his job by blocking and protecting Tannehill.
Mark, what in the world's going on with Josh Reynolds? I mean, he came in when they signed him, and at the time, Julio had not been traded for yet, and we thought maybe Josh Reynolds is going to be the number 2 wide receiver for this team. And 1 week he's active, 1 week he's not active. What do you make of this Josh Reynolds situation with the Titans?
Well, I thought Chester Rogers and Marcus Johnson outplayed him in training camp. And Mike Vrabel's attitude is, I'm rolling the best 53 out every Sunday, and Reynolds wasn't one of them. He's picked it up the last couple of weeks. He's been a little bit more of a presence. And without Julio in there, I think he's going to be a little more involved in the offense. But, he's not going to be a revelation or anything. But he could be, a solid number 3 or number 4.
I mean, he just didn't show me anything in the preseason. He had 0 TDs, he had 0 yards, and he had 0 catches. I mean, you got to go with the guys that's been consistent in preseason. I know preseason is up in the air. Chester Rogers was showing himself on the field. You had Johnson kept showing up on the film. So if you're not showing up on the field, just like what Mark said, I'm going to put the guys that are showing up every single week.
So as you look at this Colts defense, obviously, Mark, you brought this up. The game plan for the Bills and the Chiefs has been to stack the box and try to slow down Derrick Henry as best as possible. You're going to see some of that from the Colts today as well. Your game plan, if you're Todd Downing today, Mark, we'll start with you. What's most important? What do you want to see out of Todd Downing and this offensive staff today as they take on the Colts?
Well, production in the early downs, to be sure. Play action has been very good to the Titans, so far. Colts are really good tacklers. Colts have the ability to penetrate the gaps and make the running game a little bit tougher to be successful with, and that's where the Titans might have some trouble. So I want to see how creative Downing gets to spring Derrick Henry loose, but Henry's actually been pretty good against the Colts.
Yep.
He's got 4 straight 100-yard games, so he is a worthy adversary for Indy, and obviously he's got a pretty good history. So, I like what I see. And the other thing that makes me feel good about the Titans offense is that A.J. Brown is healthier, and we're seeing that yards after catch. We're seeing those big plays. So, that they do have a lot of pluses on that offense.
Well, remember last game, it was virtually a 0 from A.J. Brown in that game for the Colts because he got hurt early in that game with a hamstring, so a big difference there.
Yeah, and kind of going back what they did last week, I think the Tennessee Titans can be successful if they have that up-tempo offense. Because when you have that up-tempo offense, it doesn't allow the defense to substitute. So if you keep them in their base defense and you start spreading people out and you put, Derrick Henry at the Wildcat, it just keeps the defense off balance. So if they continuously do that and run that tempo to perfection, it's going to keep the Indianapolis Colts off balance.
Well, one thing you better be sure of if you're a ball carrier today, whether that's Derrick Henry or the receivers as well, got to hold on the ball when you're running because Darius Leonard and the Colts, they like to go for those punches, try to punch the ball out. Now, last time we saw Darius Leonard do that against the Titans, he ended up getting bounced about 10 yards back. So it didn't work out too well for him, but that Colts defense not afraid to go to try to force a fumble.
Absolutely. They have 16 takeaways?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. They even though they may give up some plays, but if you get caught in traffic, they're stripping the balls. The defensive backs are stripping it. The linebackers are stripping it. So they take pride in trying to take the ball away. And so when a receiver or a running back or somebody catches the ball and run the ball, make sure you lock that ball away and make sure it's okay.
Mark, Darrington Evans sent to the IR the other day. You're talking about a third-round pick from a year ago who I think the Titans obviously liked his talent. They liked the change of pace that he brings to the table with Derrick Henry. But injury is a big factor last year. He got in towards the end of the season and has not been any factor this year so far offensively. What have you made of the Darrington Evans situation? And I guess as you move forward from here, if you're John Robinson and the Titans, what is his role going to be? Can you even trust him at this point?
Well, Robbie, he goes back on IR in a season plus. They only have 12 carries from him.
Yep.
It's been a huge disappointment.
How many years has he been? 3 years? 3 years?
Second year. This is second year.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a guy that was supposed to make a huge contribution, and we just haven't seen it. And there are just certain guys, the old line, hard to make the club from the tub. And, it just seems like every time he steps on the field, he gets hurt. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's been really disappointing. And Chris, Mike Vrabel, he doesn't say a whole lot about players.
Yeah.
The other day, he was asked about Darrington Evans and what he brings to the table and what he's seen from him since trying to work his way back from injury. And, you could just see the frustration on Vrabel's face, and he just said, not enough.
Yeah, it's
not enough.
I mean, when you have a talent like that, a guy that has that explosive speed and you're on the sidelines, it does make you frustrating because just imagine having Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and having him with bringing that second element to the game, which is a whole bunch of speed.
Yep.
It makes your offense even more better. But with him being on the sidelines and being unavailable, he does you no good. And that's kind of what the NFL is. If you're not available, you're going to get cut or you're going to release because you can't perform on the field.
Coming up next, we'll go to the defensive side of the ball, go inside the playbook on the Titans, what they have to accomplish defensively today against the Colts. That's next. This is the pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
First and goal for Tennessee. Direct snap. Henry, he's going to pass it. Touchdown.
Can the Titans bury the Colts in the division standings? Or will the Colts reignite a race for the AFC South? No! Tune in all day Monday for full reaction to Titans Colts.
The pass rush is getting better.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Are you a father that is passionate about your fundamental constitutional right to parent your own child or children? Has your parenting time or your income been affected by COVID? This is Amanda J. Gentry, and I am a fierce defender of your constitutional rights. The courts in Tennessee are under an obligation to maximize equal parenting time. We do not live in an every other weekend world anymore. At the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, fathers are extremely important, much like my own father was. Go to AmandaJGentry.com or call or text 615-604-6263. That's AmandaJGentry.com.
Genesis Diamonds is gearing up for their biggest and last sale, November 5th, 6th, and 7th. It's an extra special event with savings of 20, 25, even up to 35%. Store-wide. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, nothing's held back for this once-a-year, 3-day extravaganza. Acclaimed designers will be flying in with expanded collections and exceptional pricing. Plus, get 0% interest financing. The final store-wide sale of the year with discounts up to 35%. Get first pick on top gifts for the holidays, November 5th through 7th only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
When Genesis Diamonds has a sale, you know it's the real deal. And it's happening November 5th, 6th, and 7th. Our final store-wide sale of the year with deep discounts up to 35% off. This is the big one. The one where the staff knows they can break all the rules. Plus, the selection is nearly doubled with designers flying in their entire collections, all of it on sale. This is the last and best jewelry buying opportunity of the year. Save up to 35%, zero interest financing. November 5th, 6th, and 7th only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Basketball fans, celebrate the NBA's 75th anniversary season on FanDuel Sportsbook. Joe Rexford here to let you know that new customers for FanDuel can place their first bet risk-free, and if you don't win, you get up to $1,000 back. It's the perfect time to give it a shot, and that's all. You can build a same-game parlay around the result of the game, the over-under, player props, rebounds, assists, whatever you want to do. Plus, it's easy to use. You got to trust me on that one. And now accepting Venmo. You got fast withdrawals, odds boosts, and specials. Of course, live betting on everything. No better place than FanDuel. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook and how awesome it is to bet on the NBA. Download the app, sign up promo code Joe102, get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Make every moment more this NBA season. That's promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Presented by FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and Craneworks and Rental Works, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. What are the keys to victory on the defensive side of the ball for the two-tone blue? Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard go inside the playbook. Brought to you by E2 Roofing. This is the NFL Pregame on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time to go inside the playbook, brought to you by E2 Roofing. Trust the roofers with integrity. E2 Roofing, a veteran-owned and operated local Nashville roofer. We've gone inside the playbook offensively. Time to switch to the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, very impressive performance defensively last week for the Titans against a high-powered Kansas City Chiefs offense. A different challenge today with a Colts team that will try to run the ball, especially with Jonathan Taylor. Chris, as you mentioned earlier in the show, number 2 in the league right now in rushing behind Derrick Henry. Chris Sanders, your key for the Titans defensively today as they take on what will be a very hungry and motivated Indianapolis Colts offense.
Yeah, you know, I think, and I know you talked a little bit about Taylor. Yeah, he's a great running back, but I think it starts with Wentz. I mean, if we get him off the spot and have him make mistakes and make him be like he did in Philly, I think the Tennessee Titans can be successful. And I think the key to the whole game, and this is just my opinion, I think the key is in the secondary. Don't give up the explosive plays. You got Pittman as a big wide receiver. You got T.Y. Hilton that's coming back this week. So if the Tennessee Titans keep everything in front and don't let Wentz be comfortable in the pocket, I think the Tennessee Titans can be successful.
Mark, this is a much different challenge with Carson Wentz this time than in Week 3 when the Colts came here. Wentz was essentially a statue at that point in the pocket. He's obviously gotten healthier. He can move around. Showed that a little bit last week as well. How different does that make the Colts offense and what the Titans try to do defensively?
Well, guys, the magic number, for the Titans defense in my mind is 3, and that is when Carson Wentz gets rid of the ball in 3 seconds or quicker, his passing numbers are absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
The longer he hangs on to the ball, the greater it is that he makes a mistake. And Chris has a good point. The Titans did a great job last week with Patrick Mahomes, getting him off his spot and making him uncomfortable. And even though no Jim Schwartz today, defensive assistant who's out with COVID-19, the Titans have done a good job with those wide 9 splits at the defensive end positions to spread out that offensive line and make it easier to get to the quarterback, and that a little bit easier to keep Wentz in the pocket, which makes him more susceptible to mistakes, and not have him break out of there to move the chains or make plays with his legs.
And I think 2 more. I didn't mean to cut you. I'm sorry.
You're good.
And I think 2 more things is the Tennessee Titans are going to have to get off on 3rd down. Last week with the Kansas City Chiefs, they were 22%. And then also, we struggle with covering tight ends. We have to cover Jack Doyle because Jack Doyle is a Titans killer. So if we do those 2 things, get off on 3rd down, cover Jack Doyle.
And once a Titan, too.
Yes, that's right.
True. Get out of Bowling Green.
Yeah, so if they can definitely do that, I think it's going to be a good game, and I think the Tennessee Titans could be successful.
Well, and with that, you talk about the linebackers and how important they are in this matchup, too. You brought up David Long Jr. earlier. Not going to have Rashaan Evans today in this matchup.
Why?
And he's been downgraded to out with an ankle injury that came across late yesterday. So not going to be with Rashaan Evans today. And you're talking about, Rashaan Evans has his faults. And, by no means has he been perfect this year. I think a disappointing season last season from Rashaan Evans. But, this kind of feels like a Rashaan Evans-style game, Mark, when it comes to, that they're going to try to run the ball. You need him to be instinctual and make plays in the running game. He's never going to be the world's greatest, pass coverer out there. But not having Rashaan Evans today, potentially a big deal for the Titans.
I'm not somebody who lives and dies if Rashaan Evans is in the lineup. He's been superseded by David Long.
He has.
I think that's been, a really big thing for them. We talked about the fact that, Evans is not the most instinctual player. Occasionally he will make a great play, but by and large, I'm not viewing this as a huge negative that he's not in the lineup today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll make a difference because he's one of those guys that make plays in spurts.
Yep.
I mean, you need a guy that's consistent. I think that's the knack that's been on him for his whole career here is he'll make a big play in the Jacksonville game. Then the next 3 or 4 games, you won't hear his name. So, if he was consistent and consistently making plays, I'd be like, oh, my gosh, he's out. But he's a guy that you're not really going to miss because you got guys that are playing well. You got David Long that's playing at a totally different level. You got Landry, you got Dupree, you got Simmons, you got all these guys that still make the defense fast and it's still explosive. So I still think the Tennessee Titans can be successful.
One of the things that was pretty incredible to me, and I know the front and the pass rush had a lot to do with this last week, and hopefully if you're the Titans, that's the case again, Mark, was just the way the secondary played. I mean, you bring up Greg Maben off the practice squad from the Cardinals, throw him in there, and all of a sudden you're looking like you don't miss a beat on the defensive side of the ball. A big test again for the secondary this week. Michael Pittman Jr. was awesome on Sunday against the 49ers, but still no Christian Fulton. Jackrabbit Jenkins has been, I think, up and down out there is probably the nice way to say it at times. What do you make of the Titans secondary as they head into this matchup against the Colts?
Well, let's face it. It's sort of a bargain basement compilation. But when you're getting the kind of pressure they were getting last week, you can insert street free agents or former practice players and get away from it or get away with it. And that's essentially what the Titans are doing. And again, a good pass rush cures a lot of ills on the back end of your defense, especially at the second and third levels. And, Maben does know the Titans defense. So at least for that, And again, they did a good job last week of tackling, really good job of tackling, not a lot of yards after catch. And if they're able to do that this week, they're going to hang in this game.
And the reason why they've been successful is they don't have to cover long. I mean, they really don't. When you got your front four and your front three putting so much pressure on Mahomes like what they did last week, Mahomes couldn't look at his second and third and fourth read because he had somebody in his face. And that's why, secondary has been successful these last couple of weeks is because our front has been putting pressure on the quarterback and making the quarterback feel uneasy. And if the quarterback feels uneasy, he's just going to throw the ball up and hope his guys make plays. And that's why you're seeing interceptions by Byard and interception by different guys.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Kevin Byard because he's a guy to me that I think has really answered the bell the last few weeks. There's a lot of criticism on Kevin Byard, obviously from the way he played a year ago, but, the first part of this season as well. And I've kind of always been of the belief that, the struggles that we've seen from Kevin Byard, while he's not been perfect, I think a lot of it's had to do with what's been around him at times and maybe trying to do too much. And I think, there were times last year he basically said trying to do too much without actually coming out and saying it. But I think Kevin Byard has responded in a big way the last couple of weeks.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, look at in the Buffalo game when he makes a big-time interception. Why? Because the front is playing so well. So if the front is playing well, then you can sit back and play with confidence and do your job. So if you look at the last couple of years, I think the reason why he was trying to do so much is because the front wasn't putting pressure on the quarterback. So now you're getting the Tennessee Titans putting pressure. Now he can sit back and read his keys. Now if you read your keys, okay, this guy's doing this. This guy's running the curl. He's running the flat, so I can jump it as opposed to just going on what he thinks he should do.
Amani Hooker, a limited participant in practice both Thursday and Friday. Mark, if they could get him back in there today, that'd be a pretty big deal.
Absolutely, but I got to say, Dane Cruikshank had a really good game last week.
He did.
So they're able to play a little more nickel, a little more dime. Gives the Titans and Shane Bowen a lot more flexibility. But absolutely, with Hooker back in there, they're a better defense.
How would you grade the job that Shane Bowen has done so far this season, especially what we've seen the last couple of weeks?
Alphabetically, I'd give him B+, A-. I think he's done an outstanding job. And I know Jared wants to send the moving van over to his house.
Maybe
but I got news for you. He's not looking and seeing what Bowen has been able to do. You look at their sack totals. You look at what they've been able to do, especially with their front seven. I think they've done an outstanding job, and they've gotten better as the year has gone along. It's not a championship defense, but I'll tell you what, they beat, two AFC monsters the last 2 weeks, with a makeshift group, and they figured out, they schemed around it. And that's one thing about this coaching staff that really impresses me. It's really hard to outcoach the other side in this league. And you saw what the Titans did the last 2 weeks. Especially last week. Andy Reid got his butt out coached. There is no question about it. And there are no dummies coaching in this league. And you see what Vrabel and his staff are able to do in terms of circling the wagons and getting the maximum out of the minimum. He does a really good job. And I think Bowen, has really matured after a tough year last year. The one thing I've learned through the years, Chris, I remember Greg Williams and what a rock star he was as a defensive coordinator. But he had years in Washington. He had 1 year in Jacksonville. If you don't have players, you're just not going to be a great coordinator.
100%.
It doesn't matter. You can scheme, you can X and O. But in my mind, the Titans, the old Charlie Weiss line, I do think that on most Sundays they have a schematic advantage over the other team.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%, Mark. I give him a B+, A-, and I'm going to tell you why. What was the Achilles heel of the Tennessee Titans defense last year? It was getting pressure to quarterback and third downs.
Yeah.
They're getting better on third down, and they're pressuring the quarterback. So that just tells you right there that the Tennessee Titans defense is getting better, and that's exactly what we need.
When we come back, we'll get Mike Vrabel's keys to the game coming up against the Colts. Also get to who's going to be in, who's going to be out in this game as well. All that next. This is the NFL pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Did you see the Tennessee Titans? He has all the weapons to make it happen.
There's so much to pay attention to. Greeny from 9 to 11.
Ryan Tannehill is the most disrespected player.
Art and Han from 11 to 2.
You never stop punching.
They've got to learn how to close the deal.
And the Paul Feinbaum Show afternoons from 2 to 6.
Are these legitimate contenders to the party?
Your exclusive home for ESPN Radio in the Music City. ESPN 94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Are you having Thanksgiving at your house but have no furniture and have no clue where to go? Well, Social Furniture is here to help you get your home ready for hosting your family's Thanksgiving dinner with their great dining room sets. Social Furniture is locally owned and save up to 70% on all furniture that will have your family begging to stay. They have sofas, sectionals with chase lounge, and recliners that are all push-button, electric, and wall away. They have all colors to choose from, and for your comfort, all of them are plus leather, microfiber, and Chanel's. Let Social Furniture help you celebrate your Thanksgiving with hundreds of furniture to choose from and save up to 70%. There's no waiting, and take home your new holiday furniture today or with their same-day fine furniture delivery. That's right, Social Furniture has same-day delivery with no down payments and no interest. Visit Social Furniture in West Nashville at 5412 Charlotte Avenue. Forget the big box store. Support local. Support social. On the web at mysocialfurniture.com.
Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee ensures children and teens, especially those who need us most, are ready to read, ready for class, ready to graduate, ready for their career, and ready to serve the community. You can support local youth and their great futures by donating at bgcmt.org.
Listen to the MLB postseason on ESPN 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9. Brought to you by 312 Pizza Company. 312 Pizza Company is your authentic Chicago-style pizzeria. Head to theGameNashville.com for up-to-date game times.
If you missed the latest from Stillman & Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Lawan, Quessenberry, Sambrilo, Lamb, Bobby Hart. Like, I am convinced at this point they would put Jared Stillman at tackle before they would put Dylan Radins.
You would be wonderful at tackle.
I bet they will not play this kid. This idea, they're like, hey, you know, he needs a whole year to develop. I'm not saying
he didn't even play football last year.
I'm not saying that when you draft a guy that he should be ready right away. That's why I get mad at the people that look at the quarterbacks and are like, well, these quarterbacks are no good. Fields is no good. This one's no good. And that one's no good. And like, it takes time. It takes time to be a great player. Some guys are great right away. Some guys aren't. But when you draft a guy in the second round, like, he better be able to get on the field in the NFL.
Tune in Stillman & Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is NFL Pregame.
And this is the NFL pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by TriStar Moving, Farm and Tractor and Equipment, FreedomTireGuys.com, FanDuel Sportsbook, E2 Roofing, Hillside Medical, Social Furniture, and Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Little Halloween music to bring us back in there.
You don't remember Ghostbusters, do you?
Oh, I remember it.
What was the head guy's name? Was it Bill Murray?
Yeah, it's Bill Murray.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Bill Murray classic, man.
That is
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack.
Yeah.
That's the best movie ever.
You a big Halloween guy?
No, man. I don't like the kind. I like all the candy though.
Me too. Yeah. Mark Howard, you a big Halloween guy?
Not anymore. No.
Don't tell me you still go trick or treat.
You're saying there's no costume that there's going to be put on later today?
Yeah, my kids, both of them, are over Halloween.
Right. Can't say that I'm a big Halloween guy either. But, hey, happy Halloween to all our listeners out there. Hope you have a good Halloween out there. Stay safe. Make sure you keep an eye on the young ones out there today having fun. So all good fun in that. It is time for Mike Vrabel's keys to the game as the Titans look ahead to taking on the Indianapolis Colts. And obviously a big key to the game is what's going to be able to be accomplished offensively by this Titans team. And Mike Vrabel addressed that earlier this week. Here's what Titans head coach Mike Vrabel had to say.
We touched on this. We're focused on the Colts, and it's going to be a huge challenge to protect these guys. They got a bunch of edge guys that play hard, that rotate in there. Buckner is obviously a very gifted, long player. So, right now our focus is on improving. To your point, to your question, we have improved in that area. I think, obviously, it starts with the protection. It starts with guys getting into routes, recognizing man or zone, being open, when the quarterback needs to throw the football. All of those things that we're going to have to do this week to try to, help slow some of that pass rush down.
That was Titans head coach Mike Vrabel, and obviously a big challenge presented for this offensive line coming up this week against the Colts. You've got some good pass rushers out there, and then the guy in the middle that you guys have talked about a couple of times. I mean, DeForest Buckner
he's a dog.
is an absolute beast in there in the middle, both in the run game, and he can get after the quarterback as well. So a big challenge for this Titans offensive line.
Very big challenge. You got Saffold, you got Nate Davis, you got Quisenberry. I mean, it is going to be a big challenge, but I think the key to the whole thing is it starts with Jones, the center. And when I say it starts with him, it's communicating who's blitzing the A-gap, who's blitzing B-gap, who's doing a twist. If they can communicate and pick up the right guy, like what they did in the first game, I think they'll be okay. I understand Buckner's a beast. I understand Muhammad's a beast. I understand Kwity Paye is a beast. But if the offensive line communicates, okay, it's a 3-4, 4-3, whatever it is, whatever their communication system is, if they can do that and pick up the right guy, then it's going to give Tannehill and prevent him from getting hit and throw to those receivers of A.J. Brown and Westbrook.
Mark, a big challenge for the offensive line this week, and we'll see if they can stop DeForest Buckner from really wrecking the game up the middle. And the Titans, they've been able to do that. You pointed out Derrick Henry. I mean, 4 consecutive 100-yard rushing games against the Colts. You think about going to Indianapolis last year, and Derrick Henry absolutely just tore the Colts up in that game. Now, DeForest Buckner was not playing in that game last time. They were in Indianapolis. But we'll see if the Titans can make it 5 straight for Derrick Henry today.
Well, not only Buckner, but Grover Stewart, who's a real, tough customer on the interior line. And, again, I'm worried about Saffold. I'm worried about, Ben Jones. I'm worried about the Titans' interior line. And, Saffold, seems to, leave the game, 2 or 3 times, it seems, a week, with injuries, which – to me, points at, the fact that the Titans need to be guard shopping, this offseason. But as far as the here and now, I thought that, the bench guys came in and really did a pretty solid job of holding things up. And but, yeah, the Titans' interior offensive line against the Colts D-line is a matchup concern for Vrabel.
And then it goes back to Todd Downing. He's got to make sure he put these guys in position to be successful. And I know I said it earlier and alluded to it. It's like the 12 personnel. And in 12 personnel is 1 back, 2 tight ends. So now it protects those tackles. And if you protect those tackles and we start to try to throw the ball down the field, then that's when they can be successful. But if they don't go a 12 personnel and go a 21 personnel, then you kind of expose some of your tackles.
It's time to find out. Go ahead.
Well, and you've got Curry Blossingame out of the game at fullback, and that's why signing Torrey Carter, onto the roster has become such an important thing because Downing wants that extra blocker.
It's time to find out who will be in and who will be out of the lineup. The inactive list and Vrabel's keys to the game are brought to you every single week by Hillside Medical Clinic, and the inactive lists are out for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, no surprise here. Wide receiver Julio Jones, Brady Breeze, Kari Blossingame, as Mark just mentioned, Rashaan Evans at linebacker, John Simon, Kendall Lamb, and this is a big one, Teair Tart out as well for the Titans today against the Colts. So that is the inactive list for the Titans against the Colts. Mark, not having Teair Tart, that's a big deal on the Titans interior line there.
Yeah, that's a guy, who's been a big part of the D-line rotation, who's been able to come in and spell, some of the D tackles and a guy that they can move around. So, yeah, absolutely.
What about Lamb? I mean, does that surprise you with Lamb? Is Brewer going to be playing, or I don't know what's going to happen?
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good they've got Lawan back this week.
Yeah, but what if he gets dinged up?
Yeah, that's a great question, and he goes back to the Ty Sombrilo part of this as well, the retirement. I mean, it would sure be nice to have Ty Sombrilo a part of the fold right now. But Mark, this also means Harold Landry looks like he's going to give it a go today. He's not on the inactive list, and looks like Harold Landry and Amani Hooker going to be a part of things on the defensive side of the ball.
Hey, he's the L in the lads.
Yeah, he is.
Can't have lad without Landry. Landry has become a guy, who has really stood out and, has a chance to rack up, a huge sack total, to me, in the mid to late teens. And, what he does, in my mind, is integral to putting pressure on the quarterback.
How do you handle this if you're John Robinson? Obviously, I mean, you've just handed Bud Dupree a huge amount of money, and now Harold Landry not only are the pressures there, but as you mentioned, the sack numbers are there as well, and he's going to be looking for a new contract. How do you handle that if you're John Robinson?
Well, I mean, who else, what else do you have to do to earn that new contract? If you're Harold Landry, timing is everything. And going into a contract year, when you put up those kind of numbers, if you're the Titans, you can't let a guy like that walk away. I mean, it's different than Corey Davis. It's different than Jack Conklin. It's just different, letting a guy like that, walk away from the franchise. And I don't think giving him big money is going to affect him. I don't think you're going to see, like an Albert Hainsworth deal where, that he's pretty much going to mail it in. I just don't see that. Landry is a grinder, a guy that plays hard down to down. So I think he's a perfect candidate, a guy you don't mind giving that long-term money to.
I mean, that's a guy that you want on your defense. I mean, he's going to have a motor every single play. And one thing I love about Landry is he trusts the process. When he came in, he wasn't getting the numbers, and everybody was kind of, writing him off. But he stayed with the process. Now he's playing with confidence. Now he's playing with a sense of tenacity. Before he couldn't play with tenacity because he was unsure of what he was doing. Now he's sure of what he's doing. He's playing with confidence. He's playing with tenacity. I mean, if you look at on the defense, there's two guys that are definitely standing out. There's him and David Long Jr. The reason why they're standing out is they're consistently around the ball. When you're consistently around the ball, it just makes your defense better. So I'm just so proud of this guy by trusting the process and not listening to the outside chatter.
Well, not only consistently around the ball, but consistently available, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's one thing that's been a hallmark for Harold Landry so far is, Mark, we were having conversations last year, like, is Harold Landry ever going to come off the field? He's playing 98% of the snaps out there.
Well, less has been more.
It has been.
With Landry, but the other thing is he's not a one-trick pony. He's learned something beyond the outside move. Kind of one of the things I thought that kept Javon Curse, from being, a transcendent player. I mean, you've got to have a repertoire if you're a pass rusher, and Landry, seems to have incorporated that. And I think that's made him a much better pass rusher.
Yep, I think so too. And you look at now defensively with Hooker looking like he's going to give it a go.
Yeah.
If they could get him back to a place where he is healthy, that combination of Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard, which, by the way, Amani Hooker in the preseason, really good both in camp and in the games, taking the ball away. We've talked about how good Kevin Byard has been this year. The ball's finding him. He's creating those turnovers. There's a stat that the Titans put out there this week. Kevin Byard, when it comes to either the interceptions, the forced fumbles, or the fumble recoveries, he has forced more turnovers than any other safety in the league so far. So if you get both of them together, that's a big deal.
I mean, you have two ball hawks, and when you have two ball hawks, it just makes your defense so much better. And then, just like if he plays in that dime package, and I'm not saying that they're going to put him on here, but they may put him on Jack Doyle. Put him on Jack Doyle, two athletic guys, as opposed to putting a linebacker on Doyle. So put him on there and let him make some plays because he's athletic to do that, and he's consistently around the ball.
What receiver outside of A.J. Brown do you want to see step up today, Mark Howard? Obviously, we know what A.J. Brown's going to bring to the table. Marcus Johnson, not quite as involved the last couple of weeks as I would have thought when he came back in terms of his targets and his receptions. What receiver outside of Brown are you looking at today for the Titans?
Akeem Westbrook has really been a guy that they've turned to, a guy that they seem to count on, that when the ball is thrown his way, he makes plays. I mean, Josh Reynolds seems pretty solid when they go to him, but that's a guy, who seems to step up. We've heard so much about Marcus Johnson, it'd be great. But the Titans haven't seen anything regular season with him. And it just always seems like in a situation like this, they'll use one of those guys on a jet sweep. And this is the other thing, guys, that I think is imperative today. The Titans have to find a way to lessen the touches,
100%.
With Derrick Henry and still somehow find a way to win.
Yep.
His workload is ridiculous. Yeah. Him being in that game in the entire fourth quarter last week was ridiculous. I understand you want to get him to 100 yards, but I just think that you want to lessen the hits on him as the season goes along. They have a cumulative effect, and I think that 17th game is absolutely huge. And I understand the Titans are playing for a lot here. They win this game, it could open the gates up to to maybe a first-round bye.
Yep.
It opens the gates to possibly being home in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, which would be great. So there's a lot to be won here. But on the other hand, I'd love to see Henry, on the sideline, maybe in the fourth quarter with the Titans winning.
I know it seems like he's superhuman, and in a lot of ways he is, but those hits still, they add up after a certain amount of time.
You're talking about,
that's a lot of hits.
carries going into the mid-4s.
Oh, yeah.
That's
which is
unbelievable.
absolutely insane.
Yeah, just going back to the one receiver that I want to see step up is Josh Reynolds. He's got to step up. If you're looking in the Jets game, he's making those little catches, the 10-yard curls and the 5-yard hitches. I mean, me and you can do that, and I'm not being disrespectful. But I want to see him catch the long ball like in the Jets game where he had a chance to make a big play. Yep. I want to see him go downfield and take the top off the defense and make that spectacular catch that we want him to see, because when he was with the Rams, you saw a little bit of that. But we want to see that when he's with the Tennessee Titans, because if he comes along with Julio Jones been out, again, you just made an offense that's explosive, made him even more better with that guy coming on.
And the Titans have, when their offense is working right, they can run those deep crossing routes.
Yep.
And for a guy like Reynolds, that should be good. A.J. Brown gives him the ability, to make some plays out of there. So it'll be interesting to see how that's incorporated into today's game.
Coming up next, we'll check in with our man Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. We'll do that next. This is the pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Darren McFarland. He's cool. He's got a personality, and they make fun of him. Willie Donick.
Would this be a fun guy to come to work and hang around with all day?
Chase McCabe.
They're just like, hey, we need you to play yourself.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curation CBD on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The 2021 Major League Soccer season isn't over yet, Nashville. Are you in? There's just one regular season home match remaining as we make our final push for a playoff spot. Don't miss the action on Sunday, November 7th at 2:30 p.m. against New York Red Bulls at Nissan Stadium. Come be a part of the most unique sports experience in Nashville. Tickets are on sale now from just $22 at NashvilleSC.com. Everyone in.
How'd you like that?
Genesis Diamonds is gearing up for their biggest and last sale, November 5th, 6th, and 7th. It's an extra special event with savings of 20, 25, even up to 35%. Store-wide. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, nothing's held back for this once-a-year, 3-day extravaganza. Acclaimed designers will be flying in with expanded collections and exceptional pricing. Plus, get 0% interest financing. A final store-wide sale of the year with discounts up to 35%. Get first pick on top gifts for the holidays, November 5th through 7th only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
When Genesis Diamonds has a sale, you know it's the real deal. And it's happening November 5th, 6th, and 7th. Our final store-wide sale of the year with deep discounts up to 35% off. This is the big one. The one where the staff knows they can break all the rules. Plus, the selection is nearly doubled with designers flying in their entire collections, all of it on sale. This is the last and best jewelry buying opportunity of the year. Save up to 35%, zero interest financing. November 5th, 6th, and 7th only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Join Stars for Cherish the Night Unplugged, in person or live streamed on Wednesday, November 3rd at Marathon Music Works. Featuring Gordon Kennedy, Chip Eston, and Danny Flowers will present the Troy Gentry Compassion Award to the Fables. For more details and to register, visit starsnashville.org.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 102.5 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
It's game day for the Two-Tone Blue. And we're inching closer to kickoff. This is the NFL Pregame with Jared Stillman, forever receiver Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Now, let's get an update from the stadium with ESPN's Teron Davenport, brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week here on the NFL Pregame Show. We are live from Corner Pub downtown here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. And we say hello to our good friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of the Talking with TD podcast, brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. Live from Indianapolis. TD, what's going on, brother? How we doing? Do we have TD?
TD, what it do?
TD?
What's going on?
There he is. TD, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Hey, what's going on? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It kind of went out. But, yeah, what's going on, man?
It's all good, buddy. We appreciate you taking time to join us today. So, TD, the inactive list has come out for the Titans. No Tier Tart on the list, but that does mean, looks like Harold Landry going to give it a go. Big news for the Titans that Landry going to try to give it a go against the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge news for the Titans that Landry's going to go. He didn't practice on Friday, but getting him out there is a big-time thing for them, not only from a pass rushing perspective, but also in a run perspective. You know, he gets those tackles for losses for them.
TD, as you look at this game for the Titans, obviously a much different challenge taking on the Colts this time with Carson Wentz healthy and mobile in the pocket. I guess how impressed were you by what you saw from that front last week for the Titans defensively, and what sort of a challenge is this Colts offensive line and a mobile Carson Wentz going to present for them today?
Yeah, it presents a big challenge because not only are they able to protect Carson Wentz in the pocket and give him time to make throws, they're also able to, you know, when he's able to get on the move, now DBs have extra stress because they have to plaster, and you have that turning the route upfield or breaking your route a different way as Wentz scrambles. And Wentz has one of those arms where he could throw on the run 60 to 70 yards without a problem. So that puts a lot of stress on a defensive back. So I think that's really a big thing. This line, like, they're experienced, they're veterans, and these guys have seen all the twists and stunts. So when you look at that package that they use with Landry on the middle and Autry and Dupree on the outside, Simmons in the middle as well, that is something that was able to confuse the Chiefs last week, but I'm not so sure it's going to do that as much against the Colts, you know. So I'm looking forward to watching the matchup, and even just Quentin Nelson against Jeffrey Simmons. I asked Simmons about that matchup, and he said it really comes down to who's going to be more physical, and I don't plan on losing that battle. So definitely take note of that.
We're speaking to Teron Davenport, of course, the Titans beat writer for ESPN and ESPN.com. And, TD, just extending the thought, you know, one of the surprising aspects of the Chiefs game was how little the Titans blitzed. You know, I think you wrote that they really only blitzed once. They're
Correct.
Going up against a much better offensive line. You know, are we, in your mind, do you think we're going to see, you know, from Shane Bowen, some additional pressure packages against Indy, you know, because they just do a better job of protecting their quarterback?
Yeah, I think they're going to need to have some of those nickel blitzes, you know, Elijah Molden, send him, just to give a different look. That's going to be important. I would definitely blitz the linebackers at times, too. You know, you want to do things to kind of make Carson Wentz have to, you know, reverse out of the pocket and get him on the move a little bit. So those are different ways. I mean, when you have such a good offensive line, you definitely want to be able to have those overloads. So I would definitely, you know, expect them to blitz a little bit more. They only blitzed, as you said, once last week, but they got 18 pressures. I'm not sure you could do that against this O-line.
Yeah, I think you wrote about this in the middle of the week, and that was that Carson Wentz's numbers when he got rid of the ball in 3 seconds or less are absolutely fantastic. So what's Bowen going to do to maybe get Wentz to hang on to the ball a little bit longer, I think you said, to get him off his spot?
Yeah, I think the key is coming up and challenging the receivers. And I'm not sure if you know, T.Y. Hilton will be full go, but you got to come up and challenge. And when you look at the guys that they have, stack passes, Michael Pittman, especially Pittman, like he's a big receiver. So it's a big target at the line of scrimmage, so you can get your hands on him. You want to throw off that timing, have what I call a little bit of chatter at the line to make Wentz go through the progressions a little bit more, like come off his first read quickly just because there's disruption at the line. So that's really the main thing there. You want to make sure you do that. But also the guys up front, they have to make sure that, if they feel like they're not going to be able to get home, get your hands up and try to clog up that passing lane and just make him have to reset and try to find another angle to be able to get rid of the football.
Run TMC, what's up, baby? How you doing, man? You doing all right? Can you hear me? We done lost TD again.
We lost TD?
Golly, he got that cricket phone, man. TD.
No, you know what? I just realized what it was. I was on the stadium Wi-Fi. That was the problem.
It's all good.
I just clicked off in time to hear Michael Cave say, I got that cricket phone. I got cricket phone, man. Stop that.
Man, what's going on, man? Hey, I want to talk about Julio Jones. He's out once again. Number one, are you concerned about what's going on him? And number two, which receiver needs to step up in his place to contribute to this offense?
No, I'm not really concerned. It, to me, is more of a maintenance thing. I talked to Julio a little bit just on the side, and he said that, this situation that he has, the hamstring, like it's not something that's really preventing him from stopping and starting and those type of things. It's all maintenance. So,
okay.
And you saw last week how when he got taken out of the game, he really wanted to go back in. So, in my opinion, if he was hurt, he wouldn't be lobbying to go back in like that, especially like with the hamstring situation. You know how that is once that starts to creep up on you. So I'm not really concerned as far as receivers to step up. I mean, this is a homecoming for two of them,
Absolutely.
right? Chester Rogers as well as Marcus Johnson. I think Westbrook and Kenny will get the start, but I definitely feel they're going to have Marcus Johnson rotating in there. And this is a good opportunity just to see him, work. He has the yards after catch ability, and he's a guy that they got their returning kicks, so obviously he has some running ability with the football. So it'll be big for those two. But here's a nugget for you. A.J. Brown he had 98 yards, okay, but it's not 100. So he hasn't had a 100-yard receiving game against the Colts. With all the attention going to Derrick Henry and him being a primary target on those play actions, really good opportunity for that. And the thing that you have to note with this, Julian Blackmon, their best tackling DB and their safety with the best range in center field, he's out. So now, Derrick Henry with the breakaway runs. A.J. Brown catching and running through contact and that type of thing for yards after the catch. Those are two opportunities that are really there now, with Blackmon being gone.
Just looking at the Indianapolis Colts front, you have Buckner, you got Muhammad, you got Kwity Paye, and then now you got Lewan coming back for the Tennessee Titans offensive line. What does the offensive line need to do to protect Tannehill from this ferocious front?
Yeah, I think really it starts with Buckner, and they can't allow him to get that interior pressure. Kwity Paye has been so-so as a pass rusher. Not really much from him. And this team hasn't really gotten many sacks. I mean, it's just like that Titans defense last year struggling with those. But I think really it comes down to Buckner, man, and they got to be able to keep him from being the disruptor that he typically is. I think they also want to be able to get Carson Wentz on the move. Running-wise, that duo, when they run duo, and they have the tight end come and come across the formation and kick out that end, that's a really good opportunity to be able to, run the football and get Derrick Henry immediately to that second level. So to me, those are some of the things that they need to do.
TD, we appreciate you taking time to join us. Have fun at the game today. A big one between the Titans and Colts, and looking forward to your coverage all week long, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Doc.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
You too, bro.
Absolutely. ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport, our guest.
What name did he call me?
What name did he call you?
Yeah, I called him Robert Parrish. He called me something.
I don't know. I'm about to check the tape.
He called me Dennis Cage. He's coming.
That's right. TD, one of the best in the business. We appreciate him taking time to join us today. Brought to you by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. When we come back, it is time for our picks to click for the Titans against the Colts. We'll do that coming up next. This is the NFL pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Coming up next hour on NFL Pregame, Jared, Chris, and Mark make their picks to click and final predictions for the upcoming game. We're inching closer to kickoff, and you're listening to NFL Pregame on Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Yo, this is Justin from Music City Vintage, here to provide you with all your vintage apparel and shoe needs. We've partnered with 102.5 The Game to provide you all with an exclusive discount today. Come to our shop today, located in East Nashville at 2503 Gallatin Avenue, and say The Game at checkout and get 10% off your entire order. If you're unable to make it in, we got something for you as well. All of our products in store are also available on our website at musiccityvtg.com. Just use promo code GAME at checkout and get 10% off your order.
NFL Week 8 continues on this Sunday. FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every play. Joe Rexford here to let you know they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week. All you have to do is bet a same-game parlay. You got to have 3 legs or more. If it doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. Big one, Titans, Colts. I'm looking at the under overall on this game. A lot of different ways you could do it, but I like that game a lot. I think I like the Titans on the money line too. Whatever you do it on America's #1 sportsbook. It's easy to use. Trust me on that. The payouts are fast and it's safe and secure. Lock in a same-game parlay. No feeling like winning one. Get up to $10 back. And if you're new, sign up with promo code Joe102, and you'll also get 25-1 enhanced odds on any touchdown during the Sunday night matchup between Dallas and Minnesota. $125 on a $5 bet. That's promo code Joe102 so they know I sent you. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Nashville Soccer Club. Feel the excitement.
Sapong returns to Layal, scores!
Of Major League Soccer.
It's a good cross! It's a headed goal!
In the Music City.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Nashville is home for me.
Your home for every moment of the action is Nashville's home for ESPN Radio.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Nashville wins it!
Nashville's best sports talk. Locally owned. Home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram. 97.5 Murfreesboro. WBUZ HD2 Laverne. Online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. This is NFL Pregame. And it's time for Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard to make their picks to click. Brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time here on the NFL Pregame Show. Robbie Stanley alongside Chris Sanders and Mark Howard here today on ESPN 102.5 The Game. It is time for our picks to click, brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment, brought to you every week by Parman Tractor and Equipment. And we'll go both offensively and defensively with our picks to click. As we see on the television screen, Derrick Henry walking in to the Colts Stadium with another great ensemble. It's got a lot of fashion, that Derrick Henry. It's great stuff. Chris Sanders, your pick to click offensively for the Titans in this game against the Colts.
I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. And the reason I'm going to A.J. Brown is because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage today. Rhodes is going to probably – Rhodes is probably going to be on him, or I don't know what defensive back's going to be on him, but he's going to get one-on-one coverage. And if he makes that big plays, then it's going to open up the run for Henry. So I'm going with A.J. Brown.
Mark Howard, your pick to click for the Titans offensively.
I'm going to say Taylor Lewan because if he keeps the Colts D-line off of his quarterback, I think the Titans will not only have a good day, but I think they'll run the ball effectively.
I'm going to give it to Ben Jones and Nate Davis. I'm going to split my two because I think the running game is going to be really important for the Titans game today. Chris, to the point you brought up earlier, the time of possession. Controlling the ball, keeping it away from the Colts. We know what a threat Buckner poses in the middle. TD just brought that up in the last segment. If you can corral him in the middle and not let him just totally wreck the game, which he's capable of doing, I think the Titans can have success running the ball. the Saffold part of this, Mark, is the interesting thing because, as you brought up, it seems like once or twice a game he's on the ground. He's having to come out. He's obviously fighting through some stuff right now, but if you could get him to where he's not fighting through stuff anymore, that would be great.
Yeah, when I think of Saffold, I think the original Rocky movie. He doesn't necessarily have to win. I just want him to go the distance.
Yes.
I don't want to see Dylan Radins in there. He gave up the one sack last week.
Just one more round, Rock.
Oh, man.
Throw in the towel, Rock.
Cut me, Mick.
Mark Howard's bringing it strong today. You're bringing it strong.
Cut me, Mick. That's
Chris Sanders, your defensive pick to click for the Titans today.
I'm going to go with Autry.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to Autry, he was there last year in a couple of years, and I think he wants to get after the Indianapolis Colts. So I think he's going to have a big game. And the way he's been playing the last couple of weeks, he's been playing like a man who's on a mission. I mean, he is corrupting the quarterback. He is getting after the ball. I mean, he's doing everything that you ask of him. So I'm going with Autry.
Mark Howard, your pick to click defensively for the Titans today against the Colts.
I'm going to say Bud Dupree because, to me, if he has a good day, he opens things up for Landry. He opens things up, for Jeffrey Simmons. Boy, I'll tell you, you love the interior rush that those guys have been getting. And it suddenly turns those quarterbacks, into deer in the headlights victims. That they just don't know what to do when they see that A-gap penetration because there's nowhere to go.
I'll go with David Long Jr. And, no Rashaan Evans today. David Long Jr., Chris, as you mentioned earlier, has been awesome so far this year. But one thing in this matchup in particular, and Mike Vrabel was kind of joking about this a little bit earlier in the week, Nyheim Hines, he can be a big factor for this Colts team coming out of the backfield. David Long Jr. is probably the best cover linebacker that they have in terms of the speed that he brings to the table. It's going to be important to neutralize that part of the game for the Colts today as well.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines is a good player, but Nyheim Hines he's a little faster than David Long.
He's a little bit faster than David Long,
and
as
he
we
can make
found
you
out.
miss. But at the end of the day, I love what David Long is doing. I mean, he's consistently, not once or twice a game around the ball, everywhere the ball's at, he's consistently there. That's kind of what you want in a player like that, a guy that's consistently around the ball but also making plays.
Our Picks to Click brought to you every week by Parman Tractor and Equipment. Going to be interesting when it comes to this matchup today, defensively. Having Amani Hooker back in there, Kevin Byard's played so well. We feel like Jonathan Taylor's going to get the ball a lot in this game. But, Mark, maybe the surprising part to me in Week 3, Jonathan Taylor, even though he ran the ball pretty well, didn't get the ball all that much in that game. Even with Carson Wentz as banged up as he was, I would expect that to change today for the Colts as they take on the Titans.
Well, the Colts have a three-headed, running back situation.
Yep.
And that doesn't even include Marlon Mack, who to me is a bona fide starter in this league. That they sort of view it that they can less is more in the case of Taylor.
Yep.
He's got a different running style than Henry, but that's why this team is so dangerous. And again, the Titans have a few areas where their roster is scary thin. Colts have depth, in a lot of different places, and that's what makes them such a dangerous team. And running back is one of them.
And I think that what the Tennessee Titans defense needs to do is keep them behind the chains. Because if they keep them behind the chains, and I think that's kind of when Wentz kind of panics a little bit. He tries to throw the ball into places where he shouldn't throw it. So if they can get it behind the chains, I think the defensive can be very, very successful.
Mark, we hear this thrown around in sports all the time in terms of the desperation level, and that's come from a lot of Titans fans this week too. Of man, the Colts are the more desperate team in this game, and they're 3-4, and they know if they lose this game, the AFC South could be wrapped up for the Titans. Do you buy into that whatsoever as you head into a divisional matchup in a season in a sport where there are only 17 games on the schedule?
Well, I think one of the goofier things that people do is look at the schedules, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 weeks out, because to me, it's not the team you're facing, it's when you're facing them.
Yep.
We might look back and say the Titans caught the Bills and Chiefs at exactly the right time. As for the Colts, they've gotten their act together. I mean, losing that game against the Ravens on Monday night not only cost me a lot of money, but maybe served as an object lesson for Frank Reich that he's got to be a lot more aggressive, and his game management has to be better. But it's still marked the point where they started turning things around, where Wentz looked a lot healthier, and winning on the road at San Francisco. And I know this isn't a classically great 49ers team, but that to me was a signal that that they were back, and for them, despite all the negativity and all the adversity, the first 7-8 games of the season, they win this game. They're only a game out.
That's crazy.
With 2 chip shots coming, and I know I said don't look at the schedule, but they got the Jets in Jacksonville.
There's that.
So the Titans win this. We know that they could be 3 games up and in a great position to get a hammerlock on the AFC South. Colts win this game. It's wide open.
But this is the crazy part. Even when they were 1-4, they were still a confident team. I mean, they never folded. They never blamed each other. They just stayed the course. And when you have a team that stays the course and they're getting better and better each week, and look at the adversity they were going against. They were 1-4. They were going through stuff on offense. They were bad on defense. They go to the 49ers in the rain. It's raining hard. All the odds are against them. They're traveling way down there. And they go out and they blow out the 49ers. What does that tell you about a team? A team that doesn't panic, a team that doesn't falter, and the team that's saying, you know what, in spite that we're 2-4, we still have a chance to win this thing.
And the thing about Reich is that I give him credit for, he allows his players to take ownership, and I think that's important. And when he screws up, he owns it. He doesn't put a lot of pressure on his team that way. When they lost the Baltimore game, Reich took responsibility for that. He took the hit, and I think his players appreciated that.
Yeah. I just want to point out that here we are. We're almost 2 hours into this show. I want you to think about the conversation around this team the last couple of years. And here we are. It's 11:09 in the morning, and we've not talked about the kicker for the Titans one time. We've not brought him up one time.
Randy Bullock looks rock solid,
Randy
baby.
Bullock
Yes,
looks
he
rock
is.
solid. And my question to both of you is, have you seen enough out of Randy Bullock at this point to be convinced that he is unquestionably the guy for the Titans moving forward, at least in the short term throughout the rest of this year? But maybe, he's only 31, maybe the long term as well.
I think he is the guy. And the reason why I say that, if you look at all the kicks that he made when he got here, he's only missed one big one. And I know it was a big one. It was against the Jets. That was absolutely huge. But after that, have we seen any misses?
Nope.
Absolutely not. So if you get a kicker that's consistent every week, you're going to miss a couple. We don't want him to miss a couple. But if he's consistent each and every week, that's the guy that you want to have that's kicking your field goal when the game is on the line.
Good God, Robbie. It's only a couple of weeks. In the immortal words of Bill Parcells.
Have you seen this team the last couple of weeks? Is a long time.
Absolutely.
But in the immortal words of Bill Parcells, I reserve the right to change my mind.
Look, I'm all about Randy Bullock love here on the show. He's kicked the ball very well, Mark. Kicked the ball very well.
Yeah, the last few weeks. Last week he was nails, out, no question.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of pressure last week.
There was not.
Yeah, pressure busts pipes, buddy.
Well, that is the thing. If you need him to make a pressure kick, we'll see if it comes out. Could be today.
Yep.
Rodrigo Blankenship on the other side. Georgia.
I know.
Georgia legend.
Got the goggles.
Yeah, I love the goggles.
That's
man.
right.
He looks like what's that guy that used to play for the Lakers? Rambish.
Oh yeah. Hey, it's just good news to not be having to have a different conversation about a different kicker every week. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So we'll see if Randy Bullock can keep that up. Chris Sanders, your concern level in this game for the Titans. We'll get to our picks coming up here in just a few minutes, but your concern level for the Titans in this game, coming off back-to-back really impressive wins against the Bills and the Chiefs. Obviously a huge matchup today against the Colts. What level of concern do you have about this game for the Titans?
The only concern that I'm having is if they come out and have a slow start and the Indianapolis Colts start fast. I mean, kind of like vice versa what we did to the Kansas City Chiefs. When we started with the Kansas City Chiefs, we started out fast, and the body language of the Kansas City Chiefs like, man, what the heck did I get myself into? I don't want that to happen with the Tennessee Titans. Indianapolis Colts come out firing on all cylinders. Taylor runs a 60-yard touchdown. All of a sudden, we get the ball. We get a 3-and-out. They get the ball back again. They get a touchdown. Then now you're behind the 8 ball. So I just want the Tennessee Titans to start fast, play physical, and don't have any turnovers.
Mark, you've seen a whole lot of Titans-Colts games, and I know there's some ghost of yesteryear that Titans fans have talked about this week. It's a big one for the Colts. It's still a big one for the Titans as well, though. If you win this game, you haven't wrapped up the division yet, but you put yourself in a really good spot.
Well, the thing I like about the Titans, this edition, they can rope-a-dope you for 50 to 55 minutes. They can not play very well for 50 or 55 minutes and make a play at the end of the game to win. This team knows how to win. I'm not saying necessarily that this could be the week, but this team has shown it's mentally tough. Yes. This team shows that in the face of injury, they'll circle the wagons and find a way to win. And that to me comes from the coaching staff. I just think anybody, and believe me, I'm not there day to day. I'm not a guy, who's tight with Vrabel or anything like that. But I'm just really impressed, with how he has grown as a coach. Even his game management is so much better than it was before. And just, their ability to figure out a way to win games in the face of some adversity, at least to me, in this league is pretty impressive.
Just look. The one thing I love about him is even though a lot of guys have been getting hurt, it's different players, but he still wants the same results. I mean, that gives you a compliment to the head coach by doing that, by putting different guys in there, but still getting the same results.
Coming up next, we'll have our FanDuel Sportsbook update. Also get to our picks for the game as well between the Titans and the Colts. All that ahead. This is the NFL pregame show here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Nashville Soccer Club is headed back to the MLS Cup playoffs.
Give them 6.
Congrats to the boys in gold.
And the Tennesseans are flying into the playoffs.
Every moment of NSC magic lives on ESPN 94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Genesis Diamonds is gearing up for their biggest and last sale, November 5th, 6th, and 7th. It's an extra special event with savings of 20, 25, even up to 35%. Store-wide. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, nothing's held back for this once-a-year 3-day extravaganza. Acclaimed designers will be flying in with expanded collections and exceptional pricing. Plus, get 0% interest financing. The final store-wide sale of the year with discounts up to 35%. Get first pick on top gifts for the holidays, November 5th through 7th only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
When Genesis Diamonds has a sale, you know it's the real deal. And it's happening November 5th, 6th, and 7th. Our final store-wide sale of the year with deep discounts up to 35% off. This is the big one. The one where the staff knows they can break all the rules. Plus, the selection is nearly doubled with designers flying in their entire collections, all of it on sale. This is the last and best jewelry buying opportunity of the year. Save up to 35%, 0 interest financing. November 5th, 6th, and 7th only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Are you tired of living with chronic pain, knee pain, joint pain? Listen carefully, because now there are new treatments available here. Not talking surgery or steroids. These are regenerative treatments from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Willie Donick here. QC Kinetics is the leader in these exciting biologic therapies that help restore and repair damaged tissue in your joints with lasting results. So if you've got pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, joint pain that won't go away, you need to check out these new treatments with astonishing patient satisfaction reports. They can actually help your body restore and repair itself with no downtime, no drugs, and no surgery. So call now to schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. Tired of dealing with joint pain and want to get moving again? You need to learn more about how biologic therapies are changing the way we think about dealing with joint pain. It's exciting stuff, so don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024.
The Predators win it overtime.
The latest info on the hockey team you love.
And the Preds played fantastic.
With the experts you know.
Those players can be important down the road.
It's not just a game changer, it's a series changer.
Every Monday at 6 on Preds Insiders. Brought to you by Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Hosted by Ryan Porth on Nashville's Best Sports Talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's Best Sports Talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Final segment of the day here on the NFL pregame show, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Mark Howard and Forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders here on the program. Hope everybody's having a very happy start to their Halloween out there. The Titans taking on the Colts today. And it is time for our FanDuel Sportsbook update. The latest odds on today's games are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, the over-under for passing yards for Ryan Tannehill in this game, 242.5. 242.5. Mark Howard, let's start with you. You going over or under for Ryan Tannehill today?
I'm going to go over. I really like the way he threw the ball last week, and I could see that happening again this week.
I'm going to go with under.
Going under?
Yeah. I think that we're going to have to run the ball to be successful.
I'll go over. I think A.J. Brown has a big day today, so I'll go over for the passing yards, 242.5 for Ryan Tannehill. Over or under 74.5 yards for A.J. Brown receiving. 74.5. Chris Sanders, we'll start with you.
I'm going over. He's my click to play.
Hey, there he is.
I'm going to go over. I say he's going to have about 115 yards.
Okay. Mark Howard, over under 74.5.
Well, if I'm saying over for Tannehill, I got to say over for A.J. Brown.
You're not predicting a big day for Marcus Johnson?
Not really. Possibly. I mean, it'd be nice, but
I'll go with over as well for A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown gets over 100 today against the Colts, finds the end zone as well. As we do every week, the most intriguing over-under to me is always Derrick Henry and where Vegas has those lines set. It's 102.5 for Derrick Henry, 102.5. Mark Howard, we'll start with you. Over or under for Derrick Henry?
I'm going to go over, although I think the numbers that they've set for him each week get progressively higher, but he's had a lot of success against the Colts.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I mean, he's going to get that on 2 carries maybe. Seriously, no, it's been funny, but I think that with him, he starts out slow, then all of a sudden he's going to have a 76-yard, touchdown that takes him over 100 yards. It's going to be something like that. Like the first 2 quarters are going to be like, well, maybe 20, 30 yards, and all of a sudden he's going to hit a big one for 76.
I'll go slightly over. I think he finds his way over 100 yards.
Is that any different from over?
It's not any different at all from over whatsoever. But I'm saying he went up with like 110 yards.
He might get more than that.
Of course, he could have 75 on 1 carry.
That's what I'm saying. It's the craziest thing. It's the craziest thing.
All right, over under 251.5 for Carson Wentz throwing the ball against this Titans defense. So Wentz is over under set a little higher than Tannehill, 251.5. Mark Howard, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say over. It just seems, he has gotten better every week. And I just don't see the Titans shutting the Colts down like they did the Chiefs last week.
I'm going to go under. I mean, I just don't think he's going to throw for that many yards. It may be close, but I don't think he's going to throw for that many yards because, I think we're going to put pressure on him to make him make mistakes.
I will go under as well. What I will take Carson Wentz on the over is the rushing yards. His rushing yards are 11.5. 11.5 rushing yards for Carson Wentz. I'll go over on that one.
Sure, I'll go over too. Thanks.
I know somebody who took Tom Brady over a yard. A quick great story. Took Tom Brady over 1.5 yards rushing.
He didn't get it.
And Brady got 3 yards on 1 rush. But then at the end of that Philadelphia game, he kept taking knees.
No way.
And he ended up with 1 yard rushing because he went backwards with the knee.
That's hilarious.
You talk about the all-time bad beats.
That is
Put
awful.
that one on the list.
Because you just don't take account for that.
That's hilarious.
That has been our FanDuel Sportsbook update. The latest odds on today's games are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so it is time for our final game picks between the Titans and the Colts. Our final game picks brought to you every week by Social Furniture, located at 5412 Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Shop local, shop social. Mark Howard, let's start with you. The Titans, a big one today against the Colts, an AFC South divisional matchup. Who do you like in this game between the Titans and the Colts?
I just think this is, such a tough game for them to win. I got the Colts 27-24.
Oh, you copycatter.
Can he be copycatter if he went first?
You do that to me all the
time. Chris Sanders? After that, I think I may know where you're going, but we'll start with you, the Colts and the Titans.
This hurts me. I'm going 28-21, Colts.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is, and we always say this all the time, it's a must-win, but this is a must-win for the Indianapolis Colts, and I think they want revenge.
I'm going Colts as well. I say 23-20. I said that on Friday, so I'll stick with it. That means all three of us taking the Colts in this game, even after the Titans. They take down the Bills on Monday Night Football. They totally destroy.
Jared would have the Colts winning by 3 touchdowns.
He would.
Mr. Optimism.
Just panic.
Absolutely. I just can't believe it.
Are we disrespecting the Titans?
If Jared's great-great-great-grandfather was the captain of the Titanic, he would have given up way before they hit the iceberg.
Oh, he'd have been just fine.
We're done. I'm leaving.
Hey, guys, that high voice. Hey, guys, I just can't, just can't say it, guys. That's how he talks.
Well, let's say the Titans do win this game, and they improved to 3-0 in this big stretch they've been in with the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Colts. What does that tell you about this team, this group, if they're able to win this game today?
That they have a chance to go all the way. I mean, it just shows you that, that tough road that they had. They were playing the Colts, and then they had the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs. When you beat 3 teams like that, it just shows you that, not that you arrived, but you're one of the better teams in the NFL.
Mark Howard, if they win this game, what does this tell you about this Titans team?
We sort of made fun of Vrabel a couple of years ago when he talked about going from good to great. But they would be, to me, on the fast track to great. After beating the Chiefs, I was happy to see the national media not just lamenting about what happened to the Chiefs, but also saying, the Titans are pretty good.
Yep.
This just in. They beat the Bills in Kansas City, and those weren't 2 happy accidents. This team is a Super Bowl contender.
Yep.
So, you got to prove it every week. But that would certainly, to me, elevate their status. I mean, they've got a good chance, if they win this game, of having the best record in the AFC, and that's what you want.
Well, that's what it shows me. If they're able to win this game, the 1 seed, and the talk about the 1 seed in the AFC, I think starts to become absolutely real and on the table. I know they've got a really tough game coming up next week against LA, but still, too, with the Texans coming up, you got the Jags again. The schedule does soften up a little bit, which I know Titans fans listening right now say, yeah, they lost to the Jets this year, so I don't really want to hear about that. But if they win this game, to go 3-0 in this stretch with the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Colts would, to me, just be so impressive, and I think tell you a lot about this team. And, Chris, as we talked about earlier, doing this with a lot of injuries along the way as well, which I think makes it even more impressive.
Man, I just think that Mike Vrabel doesn't like to make excuses. If a guy's not available, somebody's got to step up and make plays, and whoever it is, it'd be somebody that we've never heard of, like the defensive back Maben.
Yep.
I mean, that sounds like a type of jelly at the store. You give me, it's something like that. But and I know I'm being funny, but the thing about it is who's
you weren't being that funny, but go ahead.
But who's ever in the game, they still expect them to get the job done. And I just think that what makes this team so special, they have injuries all over the board. But just like what Mike Vrabel and J-Rob and the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator says, next man up. That's what makes this team so special.
Well, and I think because of that, guys, we haven't seen the best version of this team yet.
Yep.
And that is exciting. When they get Fulton back, they become a better secondary. And what will the trade deadline hold? And I understand that John Robinson gave up a lot of draft capital to get Julio Jones, but I also think that J-Rob senses, especially if they win today, that they got to go for it.
Yep.
I don't know if that means going out and getting a tight end, whether it's Evan Ingram of the Giants or Hayden Hurst in Atlanta. I don't think he's going to go out and get another corner because those guys, maybe trading for Fuller. I mean, I think Xavier Howard is just too expensive.
Yeah.
But I maybe bringing Fuller in, they could get him for a decent price. But tight end, I think is an important area for them to address, and they've got the ability to make that position better on Tuesday.
They do, and we'll see what happens on the front of the deadline coming up later this week for the Titans. A big game against the Colts today, obviously, as well. And we'll be reacting to that all week long here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Chris Sanders, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Always, my hero.
Appreciate you taking time to join us. Mark Howard, as always, it's been a pleasure as well. Really appreciate you.
Guys, I enjoyed it. Sorry it took so long for me to find this place.
It's okay. It worked out okay. Appreciate Appreciate everybody at Corner Pub downtown for having us here today. The NFL pregame show every Sunday here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Thank you. We appreciate the round of applause here as well. That does it for us here today on the NFL pregame show. We'll be back next week. Jared Stillman back in the house next week as well. This is ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Take us wherever you may go.
There are two guys on my untouchable list.
Tune us in anywhere, anytime.
Every team's got those. That's my point.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Bull & Branch. No one wants to cut corners on what's important, and few things matter more than a good night's sleep. That's right. That's why I'm glad that I use Bull & Branch's signature sheets. They feel so soft and they're light, you'll forget you're not actually sleeping on a cloud, because that's what it feels like. And they're sustainably made for uncompromising quality from field to factory. I've had my sheets now for almost a month, and every time I sleep on them, I realize how lucky I am because they are so soft and so comfortable. And no, this is not a lie. I absolutely love